You would. It's gonna be a long one.
Okay, record.
Recording?
I think the mic's on this side.
Okay, the time is 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the budget meeting. The three commissioners and the chief are here. I think we've gone over pretty much everything except for salaries and wages.
It's Monday, November 6th.
Yeah, November 6th, Monday. Sorry
We're at
about
the
that.
Did you say who was here?
Yeah, I
the
did.
Commissioner?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, I guess we're on line 4220. Is that where we start?
Yes. Because all the insurance that is
Right back
based on
here.
that is prime.
Yours and mine.
Yep.
Short-term disability.
Oh, no, that might be good, because I have one too.
Also, Attorney Fitzgerald will be here tomorrow evening to discuss the lawsuit and what we can do with the number that's in our legal line 4153.
4153.
Which we discussed at another budget hearing.
Legal expense, 30,000.
Yeah, so we can use the money this year for next year. He's gonna probably send us a retainer request for the trial. And that would encumber those funds.
So he'll be here tomorrow to discuss that and
Yes.
give us an estimate on what all that's going to look like financially, and then
And
we'll
strategy and stuff like that. So it'll be a non-public.
It was like the second thing on the agenda.
Yes, I think it is.
It's what?
It's the second thing on the agenda, on the packet that the chief mailed out on Friday.
Yeah. And so that will help us to determine what we need to appropriate for next year.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, line 4220. 100. Salary and wages, $1,470,727. Now this is for the four people?
That includes all four
No.
firefighters.
What's the cost of the four guys? Just four guys, their salaries?
Yeah,
Per year.
I was just doing that. I can get that number to you in a second. I just have to.
Because I think, Paul, you're going to want two numbers. You're going to want to know what the cost increase and percent increase is for salaries over last year. And then you're going to want the four guys separated out so you can see what that cost is.
Well, first I want to know
It's
the
all going
cost.
to be, right now, it's all stuck in that number.
I know it is.
So it's hard to tell what the percent increase that the chief is proposing. And I'm sure that's going to come up on this document. Because we talked about that last meeting, didn't we?
This is the only thing I didn't have a chance to quickly gather up today, because back and forth on a couple of things here. So the salary for the 4 people that are in the SAFER program right now for next year would be $259,767.94.
159.
$259.
That's his salary.
Salaries, holiday, and all that stuff, yeah.
That's the insurance and everything?
Not insurance.
Okay, I need that in the overtime. The overtime and insurance I'm concerned too.
Well, the overtime, I can,
This number is just their salary.
salaries and holidays. I don't know what each one is getting for insurance.
And
I
is-
might be able to figure that out.
Is this what they're currently making, or is this what you're?
That's what I'm
budget-
proposing, that they don't make that now.
And you're proposing what increase?
I'm proposing a 10.8% increase. That'll bring the starting pay from $21.10 an hour to $23.38 an hour.
The average here, that is the average.
That is the average. Current openings, I just quickly looked on the state website to see what's going on with openings. These are the ones that I found out today. The other thing is the Lakes Region dispatchers, starting January 1st, will be making $23.32 or 33 cents per hour starting.
And the towns that you have listed here, Bedford,
Yep.
are they based on similar call volume?
Their call volume is about 500 more per year than we do, but they have 8 or 9 people on staff too during the day. They have a lot more people on staff.
I guess then my question, why you have them on here?
Because we compete statewide for firefighters, and Bedford is one of the ones that's always hiring, because they keep losing firefighters to Manchester and Nashua.
Oh, I see. How come you don't have towns like New Hampton and
New
Canterbury?
Hampton doesn't have any full-time firefighters.
They don't. Do they do ambulance service?
They do ambulance service.
But they don't have the call volume?
No, they only have call, or they might have a per diem here and there, but
So like Canterbury, same thing.
Canterbury doesn't do EMS at all.
So you're trying to pick towns that have similar departments, similar call volume. Okay.
We have daytime coverage, doesn't it, like Sandwich?
Excuse me?
Doesn't New Hampton have daytime coverage like New Hampton?
They have,
I mean, like Samberton?
Samberton has much better coverage than New Hampton does. Samberton has 2 people on. They just changed their hours from like 7 o'clock in the morning to somewhere near midnight. They have 2 people on. They have 4 full-time people. No, did they go to 8? No, they have 4 full-time people. Then they have other people that fill in per diems, and the 4 full-time people work 24-hour shifts, and the other openings in Samberton are filled in with per diems, or call folks that want to work.
Now, how many guys do we have on here that started, that are at that pay level right now?
2.
And the rest are way above that.
But the rest, the other 2 that are on the SAFER list, I hired from Franklin and started them up at a higher rate.
At a higher rate of the 2110?
Yes.
So if you
One
roll,
was a captain in Franklin and went to the
if you roll this out, what's the average percent increase across all the employees?
10.8%.
They're all
Because all our pay scale is, it starts with that, and every position goes off of that.
So you just push the whole thing up.
Yes.
So some of these guys could be, you know, 35, 40 bucks an hour. Some of
The
them-
captains could get up near there, yes. Thirty.
So when you've got two guys only making this here, the rest are probably up around in the, more than the average here, or in the average.
Yes. But they've been here for
I understand.
3 years or more.
What's going to happen, there again, in my opinion, is, you know, you want to give them a 10%. The insurance is going up 15%. I believe somebody said that last time.
15.6.
15.6 plus the 10% here, plus hire 4 more guys.
Well, not hiring 4 more, we're just retaining what we have.
We're absorbing the cost of the 4.
You're picking up the tab on 4 more
Yes.
people. So what do they call it? Because we hadn't paid for them, it was paid for. So we're actually bringing them in. We're going to pay for them now. All I'm saying, you're asking a lot. I mean, I have no problem with 4 guys. I have no problem at all with that there. I do have a problem with giving them a 10-point-something raise, 10%, and then picking up 15% of the insurance. Now, do they want the raise or do they want to pick up the insurance? You can't. All I'm saying, you can't have everything. We all want everything.
Well, if
The
you
most
look at
we
the
get it.
pay comparison, the
I-
overall compensation of what we're offering compared to what everybody else is offering is still at or near the bottom,
Yeah, but
including insurances.
I understand that, but all I'm saying is, I remember last year Franklin was only at $19 and something.
Yeah,
So starting pay is 24. That's great, but we only have 2 people that are making the 21. The rest are probably right up around the 23, 24.
yeah. So what happened last year in Franklin is they couldn't keep people. They couldn't keep anybody for anything until they adjusted their pay scales. And they did it across the whole city, by the way. So now they're able to keep people, and I'm not stealing them from Franklin. But you know what? Guilford's stealing them from us right now.
Franklin's like 17 something.
Yeah, it was just under $18. And they had 3 and 4 vacancies
Oh, they
for
were-
the whole
they were-
year. It was
they
a
had-
wreck.
they had-
Now, the other municipality around us right now that's having really tough times is Belmont. They have 3 openings right now. They did fill one, but I don't know if they're gonna stay.
That's 24 coach too.
Yeah, Belmont is very similar to us.
No, I can't remember.
So you've got here Guilford going to $27 an hour, so they're going up $4 an hour.
So that person that left here to go there is basically, as of January 1st, is getting a $5 an hour.
Well, they got a
raise.
$2 an hour raise just to leave here, and then January 1st, he's getting another $3 or $4 an hour, whatever.
Another 4.
I saw Chief Carrier the other day, and the first thing he says, sorry.
So, you know, we're all being pressured by the rate of inflation and the costs going up, and no end in sight in that. And so, right, how do you look at pay and benefits? But the other thing is you have to maintain being competitive. So you don't. I mean, I think we've been very lucky that you've had a pretty full firehouse over there.
Most of the time.
And I would like to think it's because you're competitive with your pay, and that's a good place to work, and all those things. And I wouldn't, you wouldn't want to jeopardize that because, you're more worried about the taxpayer's ability to pay than maintaining the level of service.
Yeah, but you have an obligation to try to, you have an obligation to the people, and you have an obligation to the fire department. So you have to compromise a little bit in between.
I kind of think my proposal, if you look at it, it's in the middle of what's out there in my analysis. And if you look at what the openings are right now, it's still pretty much in the middle of my analysis. So to me, that is kind of a compromise. And it seems that we're always going to be chasing this, whereas other communities are increasing much quicker than we have been. We end up being at the bottom of it, and then when we have an opening, at the same time as there are 10 or 20 or 30 openings in the state right now, it's hard to compete and fill that opening with a qualified individual.
Well, that's gonna be important information, I think, for the district meeting is, you know, that perspective on what's going around in the rest of the state, how many open positions there are, and trying to be competitive, and why do firefighters move? I mean, I suppose if you're trying to move up, there's only so many times you can move up here until Northville as compared
I think
to
it's
go to
more-
Manchester.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think more of your movement is in the lower ranks because they're trying to establish themselves. And so they, you know, they can move around it, but as you get higher up, I think it's tougher to move around. Would I,
No.
is it either
Well,
way?
the two gentlemen that I took from Franklin, one was there for 12 or 13 years, and the other one was there for 6 years.
Oh,
And I was able to attract them from Franklin because at the time we were paying more. There are three reasons.
We'll still be below Franklin. We'll still be,
We'll still be below Franklin at this rate.
we'll be,
There are three reasons that that employees stay with a employer. You have a good boss, you have a good culture, and you have good pay. You can pretty much get away with 2 out of 3, but even if you have, pay's not always the most important, but at some point, the pay becomes a tipping point. No matter how good your culture is or how good your boss is, if you just leave and go to another place and make, and this kid, the kid going to Guilford making $6 more an hour, that's a big difference.
what percentage of their insurance do they pay?
Guilford,
No,
5%.
Franklin,
no, our guys here, what
they
percentage?
pay 88%. No, the 12%.
They
Yeah.
pay 12.
Yes. I mean, there are other ways to skin the cat. Maybe you don't give such a big raise, but you give incentive pay for people with college degrees. Or you give incentive pay for people with certifications, more certifications than what we require.
Well, we do that now.
No, we don't.
Well, you said, you know, if you take this course, you make X amount of dollars more. If you do this course, you do more. I remember you telling us that.
No, that's what I proposed.
That was a proposed,
I have the language here. We talked about it in August.
in lieu of doing a standard, you know, step or percentage, this
Right.
COLA increase, or some combination thereof.
Or to help people, retain people, you can do longevity stipends.
I think if we're going to propose something like that, you have to do it far enough in advance. I'm not sure what that is, so that the guys understand what they need to do to get it. You can't say, oh, we're not going to give you a cost of living raise this year because we're deploying this new program.
We
Well,
have to,
we don't give COLAs, right?
we have. Last year was a COLA, and the year before was a COLA, because we had fallen so far behind that we couldn't just do a step raise, which we have generally done. One year, I think the second year I was here, we did a step raise and a COLA. But other than that, it was a step raise, but the last 2 years it's been a COLA. Nobody's moved up a step. We're just trying to keep pace.
Interesting times we live in.
I mean, if you look at even the state police, they're down 70+ troopers right now. The local police, I talked to Tim Pearson the reason I was here earlier is because the clock on my wall hasn't been turned back yet. So I talked to Tim Pearson. They're starting patrolmen at over $26 an hour. But at any rate, they just lost 4 people, and they can't fill them. Northfield Police has 3 openings currently, and they let them take the cruisers home if they live within 20 miles. Lebanon, New Hampshire, the police department there, $30,000 sign-on bonus for a certified police officer. Up front. Guilford is starting uncertified police officers. Now, it's not certified to work by themselves at all. They have to have somebody with them at all times till they go to the academy and then get their field operations training. They're starting at $30 an hour, uncertified police officers.
That's why we have $9 a box.
That's why we what?
That's why we have $9 a box cereal.
So I think we have a very good department. We have good personnel, even though we've had some turnover. We've been fortunate enough to get some good people in. I want to keep them.
It's expensive to keep having to retrain people too.
It's extremely expensive. Every time we turn somebody over, it costs us $55,000 to $60,000 between training, equipment, overtime, between it to fill the vacancies. I've done the last 3 positions trying to come up with that number, and it's between $55,000 and $65,000 depending upon how long the vacancy is. That's what it cost us. That's money that's gone. Where we get no benefit out of it.
So unlike the police that can work uncertified, you can't just have a firefighter that says I'm a firefighter because they have to be at least a basic EMT, correct?
Yeah, for us, they have to be at least a basic EMT, and they have to be a certified firefighter. It's part of the...
So they've had to have had some investment in their career already, where, and I'm just using your example in Guilford, where a police officer who's not certified, $30 an hour, but they still have to go to the academy, so they can decide, you know what, I don't like chasing people through those swamps at midnight. It's not for me. And then they leave, and back to square one they are.
So that's given. Firefighting, a lot of people go and get their firefighter 1 at a part-time class, either wherever, and firefighting's not for everybody either. It's, once they start doing this, I don't like getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
My son is on Loudon, he's in the fire academy. Kid local. He's working for Loudon now.
We've hired a few guys from Loudon, but none of them are here anymore. I got an application today for the opening from a kid from Loudon. But we haven't done any checking yet.
Is it Dave Gavin?
I don't know. So we have to do something.
So if we, this is my scenario, what's going to happen. So we give them the raise, the 10% raise. The insurance is going up 15%, so we give them that. However, they're going to say, well, let's cut back 2 guys. We don't need all four, we'll come back to two. And however you wanna figure it out, you figure out how to run the department with two guys less. And that to me is what's gonna happen. Now, I'd like to see you keep four guys, but we gotta be realistic, we can't.
How many people do you think will vote to reduce the staffing of the fire department?
I think
District meeting.
I think you're gonna find a lot of people gonna vote against the pay raise.
Well, what
The four guys, I really think the four guys will make it. I really do. I think people realize that four guys are gonna make it. And I believe, in my heart, I believe it too. However, we gotta show the people that to have them four guys, we're willing to give up a little bit. I'm not asking you to give up everything. Give up a little bit to have them four guys this year. To pick up the tab on them.
It's not just this year though, it's every year.
And I understand, but once you get them in there, I mean, and I know they've been in there, but we haven't paid for any of them. We haven't paid this extra $260,000. That's just their salaries, $260,000 plus probably another, I don't know, what do you think, $100,000 for insurance? In benefits? The overtime?
Health insurance.
I bet you're talking close
I
to,
have to look and see. I don't know what they're taking. I'd have to look and see what they're taking, and then find out if they're single or a double or a family.
Well, if you go worst case scenario based on this,
Worst case scenario,
it's 29,
family.
it's 29,242, and I'm assuming that's based on the new rates.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Worst
So
case
what's the
scenario
worst?
is $30,000.
$30,000?
This is,
For
I mean,
health
that's
insurance.
way up, that's a big round.
so it's okay, so there's another 120,000, let's face it. In the overtime, we're talking overtime, not to mention everything they need to do their job with is all extra. So people are gonna ask them questions, I believe they will.
Well, everything they need to do their job with doesn't come out of the tax rate.
But, right, I hear what you're saying, if that number looks like $350 or $400,000.
400,000,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what it's costing to have those four guys.
Yeah.
But then.
That's just them four though, but then you're giving them a raise.
Well, I think, you know,
That's,
I hear what you're saying, you're trying to keep the total down, and you're like, all right, where are we gonna come up with that money? And I think the firefighters, from what I've heard, they'd like to have those four firefighters stay as well.
And I understand, yeah, I would think they would.
But I don't know that it's realistic to ask them to sacrifice their pay to have them.
I'm not asking to sacrifice, I'm asking to give up a little, so we can keep them.
Right.
I'm
But
not,
I
and you know,
wanna keep
whether
the- I
you
wanna
give them
keep the ones we
5%,
have.
say a 5% increase and pay for the 15% insurance, that's 20%.
No,
No,
it's if
well,
the
that's
person.
not really.
That's not,
Well,
that's
No,
not.
it's not even close. 15% of 30,000. That's what the increase in.
I mean, I guess part of the problem in the budget is there's so little
This-
other,
yeah,
funds
if you look at
to work
salary
at.
compared to everything else, the salary is the big thing.
right, so if you're sitting there going, all right, I wanna cover this, what is this, the 10%,
10.8%.
10.8%, that's what, $200,000?
Yeah.
Give or take?
Yes.
Probably a little more than that. Well, there's nowhere to take $200,000.
No, I know there's
budget.
not.
There's no way to take 20,000 out of the budget. I mean, if you go through the whole budget, it's really, this is what it's going to cost to run the department. The only thing you can do is I might be able to take some out of training, and I might be able to take some out of apparatus. Well, that's out of the other budget, so no. Training is my only one where, okay, maybe I don't send Deputy Valvani to the National Fire Academy to give him some leadership stuff, you know? Which we definitely need to do, because our succession plan is riding on that. taken a little bit of a hit to our succession plan and when Deputy Joubert left. But we had things in line, so we gotta keep that going because that gives you the strength of the organization to be able to withstand changes when they come up sometimes suddenly.
If we gave them a 5% increase in pay, what would that bring it up on there?
So I have another piece of paper here.
What's your question? What will it bring their pay up to, or what would
Their
it
pay, yeah, what would bring the pay up?
2216,
Is that what it is, 2215?
16. If my math is right, I should be right.
Right.
You're the finance guy, you should have. No? APR?
A 10.8% pay raise is almost a $400,000 hit on the budget. It's $393,120
Based on this,
based on,
the 10.8 that you have.
yes,
And that's all categories included?
yes. That's
Workman's comp.
retirement, all that stuff.
So what about, say, a 5%?
Would be
5%,
half of that?
a 5% raise would be $182,000. So, say, what if you did like, go halfway between 5.4%, but then do a incentive for degrees or certifications, where that makes us different. That gives us an attractiveness that a lot of other departments don't have, where we have incentive programs for higher education or certifications or longevity. I have in here a longevity plan where I get 2 ways of doing it. After 5 years, you get a 1% raise on your base salary for every year you stay afterwards. Or another one that I was looking at, after 5 years, you get a 3% raise. After 10 years, it goes up another 3. And they both max out at 20%. I have the language for that, if we want to consider that. That would be we're paying you a little extra to help you stay here instead of leave.
Plus they get a raise every year.
Oh, yeah. Or as whatever's dictated, whatever the commissioners decide and the budget committee decides, because I think the budget committee considers what you guys do very heavily, but they can change it.
Well, I think the budget committee is, they're realistic as well. They understand.
Well, they can say, I don't know, 5% is too much, they can say 10% is too much.
But I would like to think they'd have the same type of discussions.
Well, I think
Cost of training a firefighter is a lot of money that's lost if they leave, and
I think most would understand that. Some only look at the dollars and cents. That's all they look at. They don't look at the intangible stuff.
I think the budget committee from the last meeting, it seems like how the commissioners, they handle pay and wages last. I think the budget committee wants to tackle them first. That's my impression.
Yeah, they wanted to get that.
Get that out of the way because they wanted you guys.
They were like, wait, they'll be done, because I think our next meeting is the 20th, and they're like, they'll be done by the 20th, won't they?
Yeah.
are they looking at it from the standpoint, right, we'll see what the wages does to the budget, and then see if we can make that money up everywhere else?
Well, yeah, basically they want to see where can they cut.
Well, I guess one of the things I sit and remind myself is if the budget stayed flat, that's a decrease. Because you've got so many costs that have gone up. So there has to be, in the mindset, the fact that the budget's going to go up is just a realization of, the economy we live in.
I mean, we've taken, $75,000, $80,000 out of the budget. But we're still adding that back in with wages, but
Well, that was part of the plan for moving some of the
The
operating
vehicle,
costs
yeah.
to help defray some of the cost of the firefighters.
Unfortunately, it's not enough.
no.
Lakes Region's budget, the budget we use for dispatch, went up 13.8%
Total budget.
total budget. And all of it was paid, to increase the pay from whatever it was to $23.32 or 33 cents an hour for starting employees. Because they're bleeding employees too. We were going through, as you probably know, Adam's probably tell you, people leave. It's all the time.
He stopped by the other night. He was in such a bad mood. He left. The new system.
Oh, the new CAD.
Yeah, and the announcements going out multiple times.
Yes.
Some of the time.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah, so, well, that's, every time we figured out what happens when they get it from 911 and they dispatch it, but when they update it with some additional information, it goes out again.
Oh.
That's what we think's happening. But it doesn't, I don't think it does anything in the dispatch center, other than they see it goes out and the thing again.
All right, so can I write down some numbers that you were throwing out there? Because I was pondering it, but I wasn't writing it down.
Sure.
You had a total number for all in on that 10.8%. What was that?
393, 120.
And what we don't know is the Force Safer grant, guys. What is that total amount? We've come up with that $259, but we don't know what it is with all.
I don't know what their insurances are. I don't, let me look and see if Kathy put it in my book.
Because that 393 includes them. That's just assuming they were already in the
The
budget.
393, is that including this raise for, increase in pay for everyone, plus hiring on?
It includes, that 393 is keeping the 4 employees and giving the 10.8% raise to maintain,
So that's
to bring us up to the middle with everybody else. That's what it does. And when I'm looking at it and what's going on around us, I kind of feel like it's not even enough, but I know it's a lot.
Well, yeah, certainly when you start looking at what, because you don't know what these other towns are going to do at their town meetings.
Nope.
I mean, other than Guilford, which you already seem to know that, but
Right.
Well,
right.
Tony is a city, and they have collective bargaining, so they already know what their increase is going to be, unless they're going to do.
Right, you have to wait until
So
a year when they-
Belmont has a collective bargaining agreement. When I talked to the chief Friday, she said they're opening up their agreement to adjust their pay because they can't keep anybody.
We did
So
that.
their agreement's not at the end, so they're reworking it.
Yes, they're gonna do an amendment.
We did that in the police department here. When I was a selectman, we reopened the agreement to increase the pay, because couldn't get anyone. Couldn't get anyone to come in, or no one of quality.
Yeah, when I go to hire somebody, I'm trying to hire the right person, the right fit, not the right now person, because that turns out generally to be a mistake and ends up costing us more money because outfit them, train them, get them, 6, 7 months in, and they say, this is not working out, and they have to leave. And they usually leave on their own accord, but
I guess going back to, the point that Paul brings up, we want to do the right thing for the taxpayers. We see the benefit of the 4 guys in response time and quality of service. And we also have seen what it costs when you don't have all your positions filled and you're filling them with overtime. And what that does to the budget. So it's really, I guess I see the importance of not having turnover. I understand that. because of the multiple costs, the training cost and the overtime cost, which is a lot of money.
I mean, I have a whole spreadsheet just for overtime to figure out how many hours of overtime I need to budget for.
Are you able
And I
to-
don't even budget for what we're liable for.
Are you able to tell, like, how much money extra was spent because we were understaffed?
Last year,
Yeah,
I haven't,
you'd have to do an
I have to
analysis
do
to
an
get it.
analysis on it.
Well, that's an important thing to know, because you can show,
Well, right, if you.
even this year,
Well-
we've had some turnover, we've had some vacancies, whether it's from an injury or something else,
Yep.
that still adds up. I mean, you can look right here, and out of 275, I don't know when this number is.
But I guess my question is,
200.
out of that 275, how much of that was due to the fact that we were shorthanded? Because
Well,
we
this
didn't
is,
have
this is
staff.
what was budgeted, is what was spent, is how much of that was due to being shorthanded,
Right.
which is a very important question.
A lot.
So if you sit there and you look at that dollar amount plus the amount of money you spend training new guys, what does that dollar amount look like as compared to?
Yeah, look where we are right now, we've almost expended our whole overtime budget.
Do you know what that number is through?
This number is through, well, certainly the end of October. I don't know if it's updated to within the last few days.
So, we're gonna be over budget. We just,
Well, we're at, we're, if you looked at the, I don't have it with me, but the last, oh, I printed it. You guys got it in your thing, where we are budget-wise
Yeah.
in the email. that I
right, but
sent.
if you, I'm just doing, if this is through October, that leaves us 2 months. That means another $49,000 in OT, which will put us at 296, which would be $21,000 over budget. Let me just see the email you sent us with the package.
He's got it right there. So we're like 2% under where we are for the
Yeah,
fiscal
but that's
year
just,
expenditures.
budget. Right.
Oh, you wanted the actual number so far?
Well, like I said, my feeling is I'm willing to pay the 5% pay increase. And hopefully we keep the 4 guys. Because what's gonna happen, we give them, I know people have said it, you know, if you take a big increase like that there, well, let's get rid of 2 guys, that'll take care of it. And then you lose the 2 guys, then it puts a burden on how we handle everything.
It will dramatically change our response. Because our call volume is just crazy. As you've seen, the other day we had 15 calls. And a lot of those are simultaneous calls.
Well, that's the, this is all the potential method.
No, the other thing, a lot of these,
What I can tell you is that we're probably not gonna spend what we budgeted for call personnel.
Because we haven't been able to utilize them because of their availability, or
Well, I think some of it's because of their availability, or
are we short? I mean, it seems like we're always short-handed.
we have like 12 total people on the call department. Deputy, Dwayne, Tommy, they're all over 60.
Right, well, Dwayne is,
Dwayne's out right now.
right,
He's one of my biggest responders, and he's not going to be able to respond for the next 3 or 4 months because of what he's got going on.
right.
Some of the others are only qualified to do certain things. one or the other, EMS or fire. And the other two that I have qualified to do both are full-time career firefighters elsewhere. And
So
they're
their
not-
availability is.
They haven't shown up in the last few months.
It's
One's
not-
just got a new baby.
I would add all those numbers. So, we're $20,000 under budget with 2 months to go
In the overtime line.
in the overtime line. We expended 92.8%.
And we're 80-something% into the.
So, yeah, so here you go. You just had multiple calls. We just had a call like 20 minutes ago in the meeting. Now we just had another one. His pager just went off. I'm assuming it's for a call.
Yeah, and then I have a neighbor, a gentleman complaining about his neighbor burning right now.
On High Street. That's- Can I ask you, I don't know how to ask this question, so I'm just gonna ask you. Obviously, the number of people responding for the call side of the department, those numbers, those responses are dwindling. Every year they go down.
It's typical of all
Right.
the call fire departments
But-
around here.
At some point, it's not gonna be viable, I would imagine.
Yes,
I mean, how close are we to that point where it's not viable, gonna be viable? I'm just asking that because it's a fair question. I think, in my opinion, in my mind, it's a fair question to ask because we're counting on those folks, and if they're not there,
Well, if they're not there, if they're not able to be there to support your career guys, you certainly don't want to be
well, that's what
getting rid of career guys.
when I sit and listen to the scanner.
You always gotta remember though, we're in a situation where all the towns are, where we have mutual aid. And I know it's not the same, but you always have help. You get resources. And I think,
Yeah, but you can't get resources. You can't rely on them all the time. You're in the middle of a snowstorm and every town's looking for mutual aid.
not all the time, all the years I was on, we never had a problem getting mutual aid.
But your mutual aid is, there was, again, I just leave the scanner on like half the time and I just listen to it as background noise and would just use New Hampton. And it was a call they were responding to, driver only.
driver only is useless.
And I'm thinking, my God, no offense, but if I keel over and I gotta wait, no offense, Paul, I'm not waiting for mutual aid. You might as well just go throw me out in traffic and make it easier.
Well, I think sometimes we don't appreciate the level of service we're providing because we've gotten used to it. And having my son work up there at Lakes Region Mutual Aid and hearing his frustration, knowing that nobody's responding, they toned out a station, nobody's responding, and he has to wait. and wait and
And
wait.
he has to follow protocol to wait for that response.
Right, and he knows nobody's calling, and then he has to tone them out a second time, and he knows nobody's going to respond, and he has to wait. And he had the 911 caller on the line, and 30 minutes later they call back and wonder when somebody's coming, and he's still trying to get somebody to respond. Now, granted, those are small towns, and they've elected not to offer that level of service, but I mean, I would find that amazingly frustrating if I got the call from, my mom and my dad's unconscious, and she called me instead of 911, and I'm driving there with a 911 on the phone. I want them to get there before I do.
There's a lot of people that call us instead of calling 911, which is the wrong thing to do. Because a lot of times, nobody's even in the station to answer the phone.
Right. But
Like if you called there right now, nobody's there.
But I see the calls come through. I see the the days where you've got, oh my God, there's 3 calls right now in the last 14 minutes, and we're responding.
And our guys are hustling like crazy trying to cover all this stuff. Trying to determine, which one is more important, stuff like that. Do we try and get mutual aid right away and not wait?
Right.
Which I have my captains do, and I says, if you think there's going to be a delay in something, and it's a serious call, don't bother waiting for that time frame. Just call the closest mutual aid if they're available. Or just say, dispatch, get me mutual aid, and then they always call Franklin, even if it's at the Mosquito Bridge. So don't call Franklin if it's at the Mosquito Bridge.
So I know the wheels of the state move slow, and I know we've talked about the insurance department working on getting better appropriate reimbursement for ambulance calls. Is there any update on that? And if things move along in a positive fashion, how far out is that? Is that years out? Is that maybe next year? Is that...
So what the state can control, the first thing they can control is Medicaid payments. Medicaid payments are payments made by the state to people who are poor enough in the state that they don't qualify for Medicare because they're not old or disabled, but they're poor enough that they don't have health insurance, so that they get Medicaid, which is supplemented by the feds, but it's a program. What the state has done, and in fact on October 1st, the state has raised their Medicaid payments for ambulance service to equal that of Medicare, which is about $500 a call. Before it was like $200 a call. So they've done that. The other part of what proposed regulations or legislation, which I'm on the committee that is trying to mold that, and it's the insurance commissioners kind of running the show on this, is to 20% of our payer mix, 19%, 19.09% exactly, is from commercial insurers, which would be like Blue Cross and Harvard Healthcare and all those things. There is a legislation in place right now that says that they want to stop balance billing. So we send somebody a bill for $1,500 or $2,000, and Blue Cross will send a reimbursement of $500. And then we have to balance bill the patient for the rest. And if they live in Tilton or Northfield,
We write that off.
we write it off. Even though their insurance plan says they should pay for the whole, the insurance company should pay for the whole thing, but they just tell the patient, no, you're responsible for it. If they bug the insurance company will pay. And they'll send them, the insured, a check, and sometimes they pass it on to us and sometimes they don't. The law, the regulation, I don't know which way it's going to go yet, is that all insurance companies will have to reimburse the provider, not the insured, so that we get the check. It won't matter if you're in network or out of network. So a lot of health insurance, you know, if you have a network doctor, say you need a podiatrist, and you can call on the phone and from your insurance company and say, is this podiatrist in network? So it's covered. If it's out of network, you can still go there, but you're going to have to pay this much more. Well, when you dial 911,
Right.
you don't have a choice of who's coming. But that's the insurance companies are saying, well, you're not in network, so we're not going to pay you. We don't have a contract with you. So we're trying to get some of that changed. But at the same time, to go along with that, they want to set a reasonable rate for reimbursement for the commercial carriers. Because we can't touch Medicare and we can't touch Medicaid. Those people aren't in the room, and that's about 80% of our volume, payer mix. But that 20%, which usually you think you would be getting the whole bundle, you're not. You're getting about the same as a Medicare. So,
Does the state insurance folks, do they provide feedback back to the federal government about the Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement amounts not being appropriate?
they don't care about the Medicaid or Medicare reimbursements amount. That's not their wheelhouse. They don't. It's not in their lane.
Right.
What has happened in the last year for Tilton Northfield is Medicare is making every ground ambulance provider in the nation over the next 4 years fill out this long form, and it's a book like this, of all your costs. How do you write your costs? What do you do? What don't you do? Everything. And you come out with a number at the end. And for us, it was $3.6 million per year is what our budget is, basically. And we run basically 70% of our call volume is ambulance business. So you take 70% of that, $3.6 million, divided by how many transports did we do, comes out to around $2,000. That's how much it costs us to take somebody to the hospital. Around $2,000. I'm giving you the rough numbers. I can give you exact. If I had that book in front of me, and we're not even charging that. We charge less than that because what's the sense of changing the rates? Because you're only going to get $500 anyways.
Doesn't matter what we charge because the government says, nope, 500, that's it. So the drugs you use could be more than $500.
So I'm going to, come January, I'm going to readjust our rates to what the costs actually are. It's not really going to change our income because until Medicare, after the study's done, Medicare is supposed to do an evaluation and then reset their rates. And there are different rates for urban, rural, and super rural. It just so happens that Tilton Northfield is rural because of the population per square mile. As the more rural you get, the rate goes up a little for reimbursements because say if you work up in the 45th parallel ambulance service, it costs a lot more to provide ambulance service up there than it does down here.
So looking toward the future, the ability to get properly compensated for the cost, well, we're talking years out.
I'm thinking 2 years anyways. And if the federal government shuts down, it may be longer, I don't know. Because nothing happens federally, Medicare-wise, when stuff happens.
Just stacks up.
But the good news is that the state is paying better rates now on Medicare, which is like 15% to 18% of our call volume. So that's good. And if we get the state to come up with a decent plan on proper reimbursement and no worrying about inter-network or out-network, perhaps that other 19.09% of our call volume mix will be getting higher returns on those, so that'll improve our revenue on the ambulance side. The other thing of ambulance revenue is that we're down 75 transports from where we were this year, but we're up in collections. So we're doing a good job collecting what we can. Our Comstar is doing a great job, and our employees are getting the right information so that we can do the billing properly. We're doing a good job there. We're doing everything we can to
Right.
maximize what we collect. We're always tweaking a little bit here and there. The other thing is they also want to see if we can charge, because a lot of times we'll go to somebody's house or a call, we'll treat them, and then they don't take a transport. We can't bill them if we don't transport, but we've treated them.
Right.
So we're trying to get that treat, no transport in place, an amount for that. Another example of that is somebody has a cardiac arrest. We go there, we spend an hour there, put all kinds of resources into this patient who ultimately succumbs, and we don't transport. Now we've just spent, $4,000 or $5,000 on that unfortunate person, but we don't collect. We can't collect. We're working on those things too.
Well,
In
to
this-
collect from would that be from the insurance?
Yes. But, I mean,
I mean, I can't see, I would have difficulty if we were, someone was visiting us here from Florida, and they didn't have insurance for whatever reason, and they have just talking to adding
well, but
misery.
it happens where, this happens often enough.
But
That
take the same scenario where you're working on them, you transport them to the hospital does all this care, and the patient still succumbs. Well, the hospital's getting paid from the
Absolutely.
insurance.
Well, we
company.
get paid if we transport them,
Right.
theoretically.
He's
Right.
talking about just like.
No, but all right.
they never-
So say the spouse drives them to the emergency room, and they treat him. The emergency room's the hospital's gonna get paid.
Always.
Yeah.
But if we show up at their house and provide the care there, we don't get paid.
So one of the things, Medicare allows you to bill for no transports. But one of the things is like when you have a situation like this, do you really want to be asking somebody
All those questions.
those questions that you have answers to send a bill when their loved one is not coming with us?
Right.
I mean, it's
Here's our
Here's our price.
We take American
Here's your
Express,
house.
MasterCard, Discover.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Sorry.
yeah, it's and
We don't wanna
how
do
do we
that either.
how do we want to train our guys to do that? What's a tactful way of collecting that information? That's one of the things that we're discussing. How can we get this information so that we can try and lessen the burden on the taxpayers for calls like those, but still be tactful and respectful at the same time? I don't have the answer for that right now,
Right.
but we're working on it.
We beat it enough.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry for asking those questions.
I have this is a different question. I'm out of Paul's reach, so I think I'm okay. How far are we from a fifth person on staff?
From the who?
From a fifth person on staff? No,
No, it's a.
Yeah, it's a legitimate question. It depends upon what level of service you want to provide the community. In my mind, it's not the fifth, it's the sixth.
The fifth and sixth.
It's the fifth and sixth, because hiring one doesn't do much for you. Hiring two does a great deal amount for you. And that goes into discussion about the fire station things if we were to,
Well, so you can have that same argument about 3 versus 4. That third guy doesn't help you a lot if you're trying to answer a second call.
yeah, that's true.
The second one does. Two do.
2 do.
Yeah, right? So when it gets voted down, we only hire 2 guys. There you go. And there again, I hope we do get the 4 guys, but however,
At what cost?
the cost.
So, I guess it's up to you gentlemen. I'm suggesting that it's gonna cost us $400,000 about to do that. If you come up with a different number,
Well,
there's different ways.
I made a suggestion of giving them a 5% increase in pay. And so we could keep the 4 guys. The other option, we can give them the raise and have them pay the 15% increase in the insurance. I mean, there's all kinds of options out there.
Oh, yeah, I have a million options on this piece of paper here, how to do different things.
I'm just trying to, balance it so. You see, you're asking for 10. I'm willing to settle for 5%. And people are going to look at that and say, well, they wanted 10, but they're going to take 5.
What,
I'm asking for 10 because I think that's brings
you're
us
asking
to
for
the middle.
10.8. You're asking for 10.8.
Yeah, 10.8, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because I think that brings us to the middle of what everybody's offering right now, which I think is fair. I don't think it's greedy, but I don't think it's stingy either. I think it's fair. That's what I'm presenting and proposing. And which cost $393 or whatever it is. And I'm not, I understand it's a lot of money, but at the same time, that's only gonna bring us to the middle, and where are we gonna be next year? Hopefully, where's this gonna end? I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this question. What do we approach the career firefighter and say, we need you to pay another %? Is that gonna cause a revolt? I have no idea. Where'd the number come? I mean, I think 12 came up, 10 years ago?
Paul, we did 12, I think my second year here, because that's the year we did the COLA and the pay raise, and then we went from 90.
So what was that
Percent.
COLA and pay rate? What was that percentage?
It was a 2.5% step raise
Yeah.
and a 4.6% COLA.
So that still doesn't equal, I mean, you're talking a 10.8. So we did less than 10.8 and
We went from 90 to 88%. So the employees went from 10% co-pay on their
To 12,
insurance
to 12.
to 12%.
and I understand it's tough all over. But, I mean,
Like I said,
Chief, what's missing in your chief's budget? It looks like all the lines have numbers on it.
The only thing that I'm missing in my budget is Captain Ames and Deputy Robinson want the sign at the north,
Saw that.
the Park Street Fire Station to be redone because it's starting to. And we've asked a few vendors to give us an estimate on it, and nobody's gotten back to us, and we've called them numerous times, so I'm just gonna skip it this year, and we'll keep bugging them until we get a number and put it in next year's budget.
So right now you're showing, it's revenue side. You're showing 10% increase
Yes.
in total expenditures, give or take.
Yes.
Does the revenue side reflect the loss of the SAFER grants? Where do I see that? Up here, grant on the
It would
first
be in the
page.
first page.
sorry, we're just taking care of a work issue,
Grants applied for and received.
Yeah.
Last year, there was 300 and something thousand there that's not there this year.
I guess I thought the total,
Well, it's 295, 370. That's not there. This grant is a different grant that I received.
all right, so it seems like the appropriation, the revenue line goes up because we just make up the difference from the towns.
In my notes, this thing here, I can tell you. So the cost of the 4 firefighters in 2022, this past year, because we haven't gotten the tax rate yet.
Right, they're delayed.
Something about the water district
Yeah.
has delayed the tax rate.
Oh,
But anyways,
wait, no, they don't get taxed,
they can tax. They don't tax. They use it on fees, but they can't, because they're special district,
Well,
they can tax. And until they settle whatever they have to settle, DRA will not issue the tax rates for Tilton and Northfield.
well, until our case is settled.
No, it's a separate thing
Oh.
altogether.
Well,
Which it's going to there's a potential for a lot of issues because if they don't issue the tax bill.
Then the towns can't collect revenue, and the towns can then forfeit on their TANs.
Right. And,
Off
and
whatever
all
they
those
call
people whose mortgages are, the tax bills being escrowed, the escrow company's not going to pay until they get the
oh,
bill.
no, trust me, I pay an escrow. I pay into my taxes and through my mortgage.
So the tax rate in Northfield for the firefighters last year was 4 cents per thousand, and the tax rate in Tilton last year was 7 cents per thousand. Since I don't have the new tax rates, I can't tell you what
Right.
the rates are this year.
Well, hold on.
What was the fire department?
I asked
rate?
that question of Tim today.
What was last year's tax rate? Breakdown.
Oh, if you go to the webpage, it tells you.
Right.
You have to go to both of them. They used to put it on the wall here.
Yeah, it was up there for a while.
Yeah, no, they painted these walls until they came all in. But Tim said he only could give me Tilton. He said roughly every $100,000 is roughly 15 cents to the fire rate for the town. I don't know if that's 15, so you'd have to split that
What was 15 cents?
every $100,000.
Well, for what? For
Because I asked.
for the safer.
No, just in general. Like
And
if you
also,
add $100,000 to the budget, what is that?
Oh,
Add-
$100,000
Oh,
to
add
the
it.
budget. This 15 cents.
Yeah, he said for the town. Now I don't know if that's Northfield or Tilton or just 15 cents. He goes because he said for the town rate, every $6,592 is 1 penny on the tax rate.
Interesting.
But I don't know what Northfield is, and I don't think either town has been given their tax rates.
They're not going to until the water district squares away their thing, or they file a petition with DRA to separate the water out and send a separate bill, have the water district send a separate bill out after. It's
All right.
they're
So
helping everybody out this year.
at some point we need to decide what we want to put down for the salary and benefit line. Holiday pay overtime, those amounts calculated off of the, line 110, or is that, are the dollar amounts calculated off of the formula?
Yes.
Now,
Well,
For both overtime and
the
holiday?
the overtime starts with how many hours do I need to cover?
Right.
And then the dollar amount is what the overtime rate is times those hours. So I can go over that for you. So everybody has a certain amount of vacation, which they're entitled to, and that next year that'll add up to 2,304 hours of vacation time.
amongst all career firefighters.
Yes.
And
So what hourly rate do you use for overtime when you're not sure who's gonna be fulfilling it?
So we take the average hourly overtime rate, and that's the number that I use.
Okay.
Which is, what's an average?
The average overtime rate is $51. Next year proposed is $51.50. This year is 40. I don't have that number on. 43 or $44, something like that. So there's the vacation, there's the floating holiday, there's the sick leave. And so last year, their liability for sick leave is 4,176 hours.
But that all gets lumped into that salary and wages line, right? Except for the holiday.
Except for the holiday, which they can take it off, or they can get paid for it. One holiday, floating holiday. All the other holidays they get paid for.
Right.
I'd really like to have a spreadsheet where we can put a number in and see what it does to the budget.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I mean, you know, like, okay, we made, I don't know how you do it, but
If I had, if I had my laptop here, that if I
Some
could get
of it.
onto the Wi-Fi,
yeah,
you
no,
can do stuff like that, but I don't, and Kathy's not here tonight, so,
no offense, I don't think she'll be,
well, she should be she needs to take care of whatever she needs to take care of.
Oh, I know that.
And if she comes to work, I'm gonna ask, why are you here? If you need to take care of Dave.
no, I don't want that on the record. My other question is though, do we sit with the firefighters and say, I usually pay 13%?
Cool, what is that 1% equivalent, what's the equivalent dollar amount? I mean,
So they're paying,
In the overall scheme of things, it's probably not a lot,
it's
but
not a lot, it's more symbolic, I think. So
well, this is 88%.
if somebody has a family plan and the family rounded off is $30,000 and they pay 1% of that would be $300.
Right.
So for every percent they're paying, it's about $300 on a family plan. Two-person plan is somewhere around $20-something thousand, and a single-person plan is somewhere around $12,000.
I mean, okay, you're gonna get, I don't know what that adds up to, a 10% increase. I don't just throw numbers out there. That would work.
We're gonna give you X raise, but we're gonna raise your percentage on your health insurance, so it's gonna net us $300.
If you do 2%, it's $600. It shows.
Okay, so two of those people, I found the insurance thing. Two of those people are on a family plan. One is on a double and one is on a single. 12, 22, and 60, 88, and 12 is 100,000 for health insurance.
For the four guys.
Those are round numbers, but in that's in the ballpark area.
Right.
Yeah. Won't be far from that.
You do 1% of $1,000.
No, it's 300,000.
Cumulative.
Oh, cumulative.
300 number sounds like nothing, but if you add that, multiply that times,
19.
I was just gonna say 20. Because 10 is 3,000, so 20 is 6,000.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't eradicate anything, but it's a little. I'm trying to find that happy medium.
Sure.
Because as soon as people see that insurance went up 15%, you know the first reaction is going to be, on the other side of that, okay, if next year it drops 15%, are we going to give the 1% back?
So, if the current employee, his annual salary is $46,082, at a 10.8% raise, it would go up to $51,061.
So let's have a $5,000 raise.
Yeah.
So we're asking them to give us $3,000 back. I mean, $300 back on a $5,000 raise.
Yes. If that's your.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah. No, I'm
throwing it out there.
So you're asking them to pay just 1%?
Well, I don't know. I just threw that number out there. I'm just.
How did we come up with the 12%?
12%.
How did we come up with that
They're
initially?
paying.
How did that number come up with initially?
I think we started at 10, I think. Then we
Actually started, they paid the whole thing for a single person, for the only person who was working. So if people were married, we only covered the person who was working. Then at some point, that wasn't good enough, they would cover the family, or two people, but when they did that, the employee covered 10%. The year that we gave a COLA, I think it was 2015 or 2016, besides a step raise of 4.6, the commissioners increased it from 10 to 12%.
plus they get, if they don't take the insurance, we give them, what is it,
A buyout,
a buyout?
Right, if they're insured under their spouse.
which has turned out to be hugely beneficial overall, because the amount of people who take the buyout went up, almost doubled, which decreased the actual over amount of money we would have been spending on insurance by tens of thousands of dollars. So I thought it was a good deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I stole it from Northfield.
What?
I stole that from Northfield. That was actually Kevin Waldron's idea, or a version of it anyways. was Kevin Walden or, he was
I
involved.
thought it was Tom Gallant. You weren't, were you?
It wasn't Tom Gallant, it,
Were you here when Tom was here?
no,
Really?
yeah.
Tom's been gone that long.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
Wow.
I get up and walked out once on him because him and Kevin, I thought they were getting in a fist fight. So I, just walked out. I had to get up and walk out the door, and I just went home. They didn't know why, but I wasn't going to sit here and listen to them.
Oh. Well, no, obviously if you have competing plans that are similar, that buyout amount might be enough to sway you to go with your spouse's plan,
Well,
which
yeah.
saves us a lot of money.
Yes, yeah. It does. I mean, you can't take the buyout unless you have
Right.
other insurance. And we make you prove it every single year. You gotta bring in that card or a letter from your insurer saying that you are fully covered, because then we'd be on the hook if they weren't.
Okay, so we keep pushing this meeting out.
Hey, I made my speech.
Well, I guess I concur with the fact that I want to do whatever we can to keep the four additional firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to do what's appropriate for our current guys and, you know, do what's appropriate and responsible as far as making their pay, you know.
But then again, I'm willing to give them the 5% and pay for their insurance. I mean, it's something, it shows faith that we do care. Is it up to the state at a level? Probably not, but we're not.
Well, we're gonna, I'm sure, have this conversation again next year, because my
Well,
guess.
next year, you're not gonna have 4 guys, because they're already gonna be there.
Well, yeah, but how many of these towns are gonna raise their starting pay,
All
and will be even more out of alignment with it?
Maybe.
Maybe, but it's highly probable.
The other thing you could take consideration, how many, Franklin, do they run 4 guys round the clock? I don't believe they do. Belmont, I know does not. Some of these towns, you know, they only have 4 guys during the day or 3 guys during the day. I don't know which ones do, but I know some of them do. So we're fairly fortunate to have 4 guys around the clock. And I know Franklin does not, and I know Belmont
During the
does.
daytime, Belmont and Franklin do. At nighttime, they go
They
down
do.
to 3.
3. And when, I think,
During the day, though, Franklin has more than we do during the day.
They have more than 4 on.
Yeah,
well, they have an inspector.
they have 2 inspectors.
Yeah.
So they're certified. They pick up a lot of slack during the day.
But I think Plymouth does the same thing. Is 4 and 3.
They don't, again, Plymouth doesn't have the call volume that we have. And the call volume that they do have, a lot of it is they're serving other communities as well. They have contracts with some of the other surrounding communities,
Yeah, Romney,
you know, those guys.
Holders.
Holderness, Hebron, or something like that.
I think Hebron's Bristol.
Yes, you're right.
In my wheelhouse there, so
So,
Bridgewater.
I made my.
we do,
That's what I do.
I mean, we do all we can just really
I mean,
to provide
geographically,
service
it's
here.
huge.
And
But even combined, though.
I'm afraid we asked too much of those.
yeah,
Something.
Ashland, I mean, it's considered the college right there. They were nearly what I thought they were.
Do we,
Well, what's the percentage they got last year? Was it 7?
it's more than 5.
last year was 7.5%.
Do do we need to vote on this tonight, or can?
We have to vote on the concept, and I can give you the numbers tomorrow, and you can vote the actual numbers. 7.5% would be,
Well, I guess, I'd like to see what, you said 5%, I would like to see what 5% does to all these numbers.
5%,
That's what I said, if we had a
Would be
spreadsheet that we could just play with the number.
182,000. I did the
Okay.
work on that.
So as compared to 393,
Yes, it would be
alright, what is the dollar amount?
182.
For 5.
Yep.
And then what would 7.5 be?
254 plus 27.3.
No, 18.2. You said,
Yeah, oh yeah.
254 what?
$254,800 plus 18,200.
well, that might not be.
So it's yeah,
That's 7.5%.
that's 7.5%. Yeah, it'd be about 270 something. That's 273,000.
And Tim said $100,000 was 15 cents.
They used to have. They used to have.
So, it's like 41 cents, if that's correct.
Oops.
But that, you have to divide that, what this amount gets divided to by the formula for Tilton and Northfield, so it's not
Well, for the district, you said.
for the district. So Tilton's share of that would be approximately 65%. I don't know what the
Yeah,
exact
yeah,
number
no.
would be.
They used to have a thing on here that Tim typed up. It was a pamphlet that kind of was like property taxes 101. You want to see it on there. Kind of like was a basic explanation of it.
That 10.8% increase is gonna cost me $100 in my taxes. Roughly.
And some people can't afford that.
Well, right, because it's gonna be more than, there's other items in the budget that are.
No, I know. I was saying.
And then, right, who knows what's happening with the town and the school and the state.
The revenue for the state is up over what they expected, but they think most of that money is going to go to the Sununu
So
Youth
that's-
Center settlements.
They're not gonna pass that on to us.
No, that's state revenues are going to pay for that.
To millions.
They're also trying to, the state legislature is also trying to, there's 3 tiers of retirement system for firefighters.
That percentage doesn't change every year, does it?
For the municipalities, it won't mean anything, it just means something.
No, but I mean, if 2% of their income goes back into retirement, it's always gonna be 2%, right? Not like this year, it's gonna be 2.3, next year it's gonna be 1.9. I don't know what the percentage is, I'm just throwing it
Yeah,
out.
no, you're exactly right, if that stays the same.
That's a good fixed. So actually, the retirement system benefits with all these increased wages.
And we took a hit on that from the state.
Yeah, so there's time and collects more money.
Right.
So your budget so far shows a almost 11% increase. And the most of that's made up in wages
Yes.
and benefits. Well, I think I know where Paul stands.
I think I told you a couple times, so. I want to be fair, but there again, I want to be fair to everybody.
This is Derry, came out Friday. They're looking to hire firefighter, EMT, really paramedic. But the starting pay for a paramedic in Derry is $67,463 a year, which turns out to be $31.88. We start our paramedics here at $23.21. If the proposed 10.8% raise goes in, that starting pay goes up to $25.72. Still nowhere near $31.88.
There are things that I believe that we do that other towns don't. And what they are, I'm not sure.
So how can you say that there's things that we do that other towns don't, but you don't know what they are?
Well, I'm sure there are things that, you don't, just because you got this paper don't mean everything's on it. I think there are things that, like the deductible, we pay the deductible. Do the other towns pay that?
Well, as you know, through a budget process, the amount of money that we end up paying in deductibles is a couple $1,000s.
It is, it's minor. But that's what I mean, there's one little...
And I don't know if other communities do it,
Yeah.
or they share
So that's what I mean.
I don't know.
Some of these things, you don't know what the other towns actually do. You're only going by rate of pay. I remember a few years ago in the paper in Laconia, firefighter there was making $150,000-$60,000 a year with his overtime and everything. It was in the paper.
I don't remember that. I think I would
It was
remember
quite a few
that.
years ago, but it was in there. There was 4 or 5 of them that made, $150,000-$60,000 a year. Because it was brought to somebody's attention.
I think that's very anecdotal. I know
Once that becomes public, though, usually that gets kibosh.
the guy that took my place in Tewksbury, he's a shift commander at Tewksbury, his son got on the job a year and a half ago, and that captain last year made $140,000. The kid also made $140,000 because he worked every bit of overtime he could get his hands on, because he ended up with twins or triplets, and he'd bought a house just before it, so.
Well, I guess if someone's going to go after it,
You're right, you can't fault somebody for working.
you can't fault them for
No,
that.
I don't.
It sucks to pay it, but they're gonna. They're gonna.
Yeah, so, they get paid a lot more down there, but
No, but I mean.
But at any rate, it's still comparable because the cost of living is, I think, different down.
See, another benefit the firefighters have that nobody else has is, you know, and I'm not, I hate to say this because it's not really right, but where do you go and you can sleep at night and may not get a call and get paid for it? There's not another profession except in the service that you get paid for sleeping.
But you can also get that call at 2 in the morning.
I understand.
And not go home.
I understand, Eric.
It's not like you're paying them to sleep. You're paying them because of the abilities and
To
things
be,
of what they can
to
do.
be when you need them.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And
And if we knew when they were gonna be needing them, then we could schedule accordingly.
I mean,
Oh, you know, we're not gonna get any calls like, we only need one guy out.
Well, but you're also paying them for the stress level of the job and some of the horrible situations that they have to deal with. I don't have to deal with those in my day to day. I mean, you know, every now and then the
And I
Coke machine
understand that,
runs
but
out of
we all
Coke,
choose our own professions.
Right.
Well, they give you a car this morning.
But we have to be competitive.
Otherwise, we're gonna be paying more overtime, or we're gonna be going through guys' morale.
So tell us about the budget committee. I know they're waiting for us to make a comment. They're waiting for us to approve a dollar amount. Have they any sense of what?
No, I
they're
think they were
thinking of the
kind of
budget?
waiting.
they were kind of waiting. to
Yeah,
see what you
waiting
guys
for us
do.
to see what
Well,
we're
they
gonna
didn't
do.
like walk in the door going, you know, on a level funded budget.
No,
No.
they just got it, and they kind of looked over everything, and you know, I think last year they had a bigger reaction than they did this year.
To
The 10.8.
Because Chief gave this out,
oh,
and I think some of the numbers were inaccurate on that,
Yeah. This is the corrected.
but
one.
it's,
The one I gave out didn't have any of this on there.
yeah, I was gonna say that's new. Because they were asking, well, why didn't you have other, you know, some of these other towns? So this is giving us other towns, maybe not necessarily competition. I mean, I would imagine Concord has way more call volume than we do. But likewise, Littleton probably has similar, if not a little less than we do. Derry, I don't know. Derry seems like they're always,
Derry's busy, but they have 16 guys on duty.
yeah.
And run out of there's 3 or 4 stations. Derry reminds me of Tewksbury, the way their fire departments are.
so let me go back to, Chief, with your numbers in here for short-term disability and life insurance and all those, based on that 10%, 10.8% increase,
What page you on, sir?
I'm on page 3.
There you go. I'm on that one, too.
Are all those amounts accurate? Long-term disability, life insurance, New Hampshire state.
I believe
Fire
they're
insurance.
accurate to within a few dollars right now because Kathy had to go home while we're in the middle of doing that. But running the checks on that compared to them, they're accurate to within a few dollars. I don't believe they're gonna change. If the 10.8 doesn't change, then those numbers,
Where's workers'
I-
comp?
Does
What are you
the,
looking for?
Workers'
how many people is that insurance opt out?
It says, it looks like one here. It says, there's no
hold
that.
on a sec.
That's the account.
No, yeah.
It's probably 2.
How many are opting out?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And how much do we give them when they opt out?
Proposed or currently?
Currently.
Um,
All right, proposed.
Proposed is,
That number divided by 7.
yes,
Over 10 grand.
about 10 grand, yeah.
It's actually about 7.
And that number's gone up. It's not a static amount, that amount is,
The number of opt-outs,
no, the dollar amount.
dollar amount, it the way, what we determine it as is the district's cost of a single-family plan is the opt-out number. So
So we're giving them the whole amount.
the district's cost,
Yes.
not the whole amount. The whole amount
Only
would be another,
88%.
would be another.
Okay, got it, got it.
So if they have a family plan, but they can get the insurance from their spouse, they take that, instead of us paying near 30,000, we pay them near 10,000. So we save 20,000,
This,
or the taxpayer does.
this sheet right here has a July 1st date.
Mhm. That's when I started it.
So this 29,000, is that reflective of the new rate or the 2023?
Those are the new rates.
So this is the new
I've
rate?
updated those, yeah.
Okay.
Let's make sure I'm correct in that.
Or do we have to add 15.6% to that?
All right, so it's
Which is a big number.
So what you're telling me is these dollar amounts that you've entered in are reflective of that current staff and current cost.
I'm trying to find something here. The district cost next year for family plan is $33,803.
So that's a big different number than this number here.
Probably-
This is the 88%.
So this is the 88% of that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that would be, right.
okay.
Yeah, 10% would be 3,000 then.
A two-person plan is gonna cost the district $25,039 and change. A single is $12,500 and change.
Do most departments pay the full amount?
No, because they're all over the place. And the amount that there are communities that pay 100% of the health insurance, and there are communities I've found pay 85%. Most are 90%. Because most of these communities in the sheet here get their insurance from Health Trust. So when I ask them, what's your cost for, what's the district's cost or the town's cost for a family plan, it's different than ours for a family plan. It says, how's that happen? It should be the same. But then when I go to these meetings, I found out it's not the same because there's a different number of people on the plan. Their plan renews in July instead of January, and they take all the January groups and they group them together and they come out with some actuarial number.
Yeah.
And all the July groups come out with a different actuarial number, and so that's why they're all close, but they're not the same. Because also some communities contribute more or less than what we do.
Well, like
towards
Tony
health
is
insurance.
33,000, so I'm imagining they pay 100%.
So I'm trying to jump off.
Go right ahead.
I'm trying to understand why the amount to be raised by taxation is up, using the chief's numbers, by $362,000, $363,000. But it seems to me it should be more than that because we've got $393,000 worth of wage increases, plus we have the loss of the Safer grant. So it seems to me that amount needing to be raised by taxes should be a,
Well, the Safer grant is being replaced with tax dollars, so it's,
The money for the
no,
safety.
that's what I'm saying, the amount of money needed to be raised by taxes is only up $363,000, if you do the math on page 1. No, I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of numbers in here, but if the chief's budget has $393,000 in wages increase, and we're not getting the $295,000 worth of Safer grant money, it seems like the amount needed to be generated by taxation would be,
but don't forget the money that we moved from the budget to the apparatus and equipment fund
Quite a bit out of there.
would,
right,
would
but-
lower the would,
granted, but I'm looking at it, 393 plus
where you,
200.
where you getting 393?
393 is the
Oh, the-
10.8%
yeah, yeah.
increase, and the loss of the Safer grant is $295,000. So it's, you've got almost $700,000 there, and we're we moved what, $70,000 or $80,000 worth of expenses over to the. So why isn't the amount needing to be raised by taxes not closer to like $600,000? And I guess maybe I need to go through this a little bit more to see where the differences are. Because practically every line in the budget is the same or up.
Same or up a little bit, yeah.
So it's like there's some huge dollar amount missing somewhere.
But the form was busted.
And how many warrant articles come out of taxation that were in there last year that aren't going to? I apologize for posing the question because I should have done more research, but I'm just trying to get a sense for what the total increase in the budget's going to look like.
Mine's all filled in.
Well, last year's warrant articles, they're listed there somewhere, right?
Yeah, but it's still the operating revenues.
What is this one on page 9? Pressurized hydrants has an actual dollar amount of $169,333.
Page 9, pressurized hydrants.
We had to put that in the budget based on the audit.
Well, it's not appropriated, but it says actual. Is that money that was
Set aside.
set aside?
It might have been set aside. I don't, from the audit. I haven't seen the final audit yet. That's the other thing.
That's no.
Well, I was gonna ask about that tomorrow.
Yeah. When you get your answer. I haven't seen it.
Well, last year we got it in July.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know what the deal is.
So this is, you're saying is 360, is this what you're going by your numbers here on this page? So over 2023, we're 362,000, 10.73%.
I was comparing it to the, excuse me, appropriated line item. Right, that's the 360.
Yeah, excuse me, thank you.
So I have- it's about 20.
You have a dollar amount in there for the 2024 Chief's budget on page 10,
For,
Safer Grant. 290.
yeah, because I applied for a grant and I didn't know if we were gonna get it. And I don't think we are, because
So
we
that-
weren't selected.
I bet you that's gonna throw your number off.
I don't throw out by dollar.
We've got $300,000 in there.
They selected all the candidates, but they haven't decided, I don't think everybody said they're gonna take it or not, and so they're going down the line on that.
That's it right there. That's the dollar amount right there.
With the 298,000?
Yeah. It's reducing the operating budget revenue side by 300,000.
Where is this?
So if you look at page 10, no, because it's, you've got a dollar amount in there, but does that number carry over anywhere?
Everything carries straight down, theoretically.
No. That number, I don't think it will. Because you're still on the first page, you still have 3,383,000, which is your operating budget.
And that seems about right.
No, I guess I'll have to look this over. It just seems like the operating budget should be up more than 300,000.
$360,000, $359,999,000 to $360,000. But, I mean, just on this, it should be 300, the minimum of $380,000, I would imagine.
All right. I'd like to ponder this till tomorrow,
Okay.
if that's okay. Unless you feel you need to make a,
No, I mean, if you wanna look it over, we would. I mean, it's a big number.
it is a big number. $3 million.
I remember when I was on there, it hit 1 million. People, oh my God.
Well, what is it really? I mean, we're getting $3.3 million from taxes, but then how much do we pull out of the different funds?
Well, if you had to add all the stuff in there, it's,
We're
it's quite a
pushing
bit.
for $1 million or more, right? While we're thinking about it, can we just, the call salaries and wages, that line item, last year it had 59,742, which I'm sure there's a reason for the number. being another.
Well, that was
It was a compromise.
number of hours times,
compromise through the budget committee process.
Okay, well, I see that the amount spent keeps going down. Is that, based on our other conversation about the number of call firefighters?
So I'm giving all those guys a raise, hopefully help try and keep some of them. So I increased the budget to account for the raise, but I don't know. The call thing is always a crapshoot.
Is the 65,000 based on this 59 plus the raise?
Yes,
I guess my question is the 59 too high
it might be.
We actually only did 36,000,
so far?
So far.
yeah.
Yeah, it's always a line item to look at, and it's always been,
21 was higher because of COVID, right? We had more people around to respond.
yeah, because nobody was working.
Oh, no.
So they could get it here.
Well, they were.
But it's always, it's hard to cut the call salary because there's two things going on here. What do I think is really going to happen, and then what possibly could happen, and then the morale of the call company itself when they say, oh, the chief put in for whatever number, and then they cut it. I guess they don't want us to come in.
We want them to come in, but it's.
But you know how much
We have
do
to
they
be.
actually?
We have to be responsible with the budget. And
I'm just.
it's
No,
fluff.
I hear what you're saying. Well, I mean, I guess if you take that 36,000 and you stretch it out to the end of the year, you're at like 47,000, 43,000, 43, yeah, almost 44,000. You add your 5,000 and
Yeah,
to cover your costs again.
yeah, it'd be around 50.
I mean, you could do $50,000 in that line item.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what I was going to throw out there to this one.
I mean, if you're gonna go over on your budget anyway, that's the, oh, sorry, Paul, that's the line item to go over on.
I mean, if you want to make a motion on that, we can do that one.
I don't know if anyone else has a comment on that.
Make a motion to put line 120 call salaries and wages at 50,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved, line 120, call salaries and wages in the amount of $50,000. Been moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Should have one thing, huh?
Well, there's two other easy ones too.
Oh, there's,
The two vehicles, the ambulance and pickup truck.
What page is that?
The page 14 of 14, at the very bottom.
The more warrant articles? New
Yeah, those would be
ambulance.
warrant articles, yeah.
Yeah. So you were asking for a new ambulance to put in for this year?
Yeah, we won't get it for 2 years though. But we have to order it,
Now, what makes you think, and the price would stay the same?
more or less. Yes. So I can show you the proposal here.
Boy, is there a way to put that in a warrant as a not to exceed amount?
Oh, yeah, we would never exceed. Total delivered price, ambulance prefers that, this proposal would be through ACS. Note, there is no, okay. The above prices are an estimate, as we do not know what the actual increases would be at this time due to changes notices brought on by KKK, chassis, KKK is the federal regulation on ambulances, chassis price increases, material increases, vendor prices increases, and tariffs on materials. But when they say that to everybody, they say that to everybody, and the number they give us really takes into account all those possibilities.
It's just strange that you purchase something, okay, we're gonna purchase a brand new ambulance. This is what we're gonna pay, okay, we're gonna give it to you, go ahead and, but it's gonna take them 2 years to get it to us. And they're asking us to pay more than this when we've already purchased it.
Well, we haven't really paid them a dime yet.
Well, not yet, but if we,
And it's a COD thing.
Will it actually be that full amount, or would it be less than that if their costs were less than that? Or are they just gonna make it that number?
They're probably
regardless?
gonna, if it's less than that, they're probably gonna make it that number anyways. But if it's more, they're gonna come calling. That's my belief. He didn't really come out and say that. But when I've talked to other people ordering ambulances, that's kind of like what's been happening. But again, it's almost 2.5 years away from delivery of this vehicle.
what did we pay for the last one?
About 300,000.
Is that equipped?
No,
So it's
nothing.
300,000.
There was
So
nothing in it,
so it's 300,000 plus how much?
plus equipment.
I don't know about how much it was.
Well, a lot of the equipment we transferred over from the one that we traded in.
Yeah.
So this one, I propose that we fully equip and keep 3 ambulances. And get
All
rid
right,
of the
before we
rest
get
and
to
trade
that
the rescue
discussion,
one.
does that amount include the, graphics and lights
Everything.
and radios working and
Street ready.
street ready?
Everything, yes.
Okay.
It's ready to roll.
I don't know if keeping 3 in, I mean, that's another expense down the road.
Well, actually, we're making money by getting rid of the rescue and keeping the ambulances. Have all that back up right here.
Well, if you get rid of the rescue, I can, because you,
That's what we
Yeah.
do. We get rid of the rescue. Equipment fund. It doesn't affect the tax rate by keeping it because the maintenance and repairs are now off the tax rate. Over the last 10 years, all EMS incidents rose by 63%.
And how many years?
10 years. Oh, EMS, all incidents by 63%. EMS incidents were 56% of that. This is where, in 2021, Tnfd lost 40 ambulance transports to mutual aid due to only 1 ambulance being available because the other ambulance is being fixed. So far in 2023, when I wrote this, in 2022 we lost 64. So far in 2023, I don't know if I have a date on this, we lost 40. In the last 2 years, 21 and 22, Tnfd lost $52,000 in ambulance revenue due to lost ambulance transports.
And that's just ambulance being out of service.
Just because it's being serviced and we can't do that other call. So, we're going to buy the ambulance anyways. Don't trade in the older one. We're going to keep it. We'll trade in the rescue instead, or sell it on the side. The maintenance costs for the rescue are about the same as maintaining an ambulance, believe it or not. The rescue last year went on 6 calls, only arrived on scene once. And it went 120 miles last year, road miles.
and what does that have on it?
The rescue right now?
Yeah,
All that it has on it right now is the hydraulic rescue tools.
and where
The
would that
jaws.
go?
On the ladder.
So if you need it, you'd have to call, we must have another one, hydraulic.
We have combi tools on each engine,
Okay.
which does
Okay.
both cutting, but
Yeah,
not
yeah.
as big as the hydraulic reservoir.
So you wouldn't need the ladder truck every time you had a, okay.
No,
So
it
you're-
would probably, the ladder truck would probably go on in about probably go out 6 times and get there once.
6 additional times.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is to have the third ambulance, over the last 2 years, you potentially would have recovered 60 some odd calls, as compared to the rescue, which wouldn't be able to go to any of those calls and it doesn't get used. So you're moving the maintenance costs from the rescue to the third ambulance. And would there be a potential to pick up a couple runs because your 2 ambulances are already out and you could respond with the third one if you had enough call company?
Yes.
Now, the problem though is, what is this $154,000 worth of equipment?
That's a defibrillator, monitor defibrillator. It's the CPR device, the auto pulse. I have that list.
Well, I guess the question would be, is
So
there
it's-
an advantage of having all that equipment on that third ambulance as compared to if I know the ambulance is gonna be down for a week, do you transfer some of that over?
So it's with licensing. If you want to be licensed as an advanced life support ambulance, you have to have it on the ambulance. You can't switch it from one to the other. And if we can't license it as an advanced support life support ambulance,
You can't go out on
Yeah.
the calls.
you can go on calls, but if it's only a BLS call, and then you're limited as to what you can charge.
So you've got $154,000 worth of equipment to go on an ambulance.
Yeah. Yes. So that's, we have to buy one radio, an iPhone, an iPad, a cradle point router, a HPUE, a pyramid repeater, the monitor, a portable suction, the NOx med vault that goes in there, the power cot, a stair chair, the scoop stretcher, an IV pump.
How much of that equipment doesn't, even if you didn't keep the third ambulance, what percentage of the equipment on the 10-year-old ambulance gets transferred into the new ambulance when you buy a new one? All of it? Most of it? Some
All
of it?
All of it,
All of it does.
yeah.
Thing is, how often do you replace it? Because now you got 3, so if this here is outdated, this one's gotta be done and this one.
So, yeah, you gotta look at that. So our 2 stretchers that we have currently are 13 years old.
What would they, how
What's
much in cost?
They're 25 grand a piece.
Yeah.
What's their life expectancy?
Well, depends upon how much you use them and stuff like that. We take very good care of ours. We have them factory maintained and serviced. So they're in pretty decent shape. Same with the stair chairs. They're 13 years old. Very expensive piece of equipment. The most expensive piece of equipment is the monitor. The Zoll monitor. That's around $45,000 plus ancillary stuff that you have to buy, the sensors and all that other kinds, gets over $50,000. That's where you make all your money.
Right. So what is the return on investment on that? $154,000?
So over the course, the lifespan of that equipment,
No, the missed calls.
the missed calls per year
Yeah, what was the dollar amount for the
Was it
calls?
52,000?
is 50-something thousand a year.
So,
Maybe more. I have to let me find that.
so it'd be a 3-year potential if you were saving.
For
if you
your
were-
return on investment, yeah.
And then who knows, 3 and 5 years from now, how your call volume increases.
Our population.
Yeah, it's in the ballpark of $50,000 a year.
So 3-year return on investment.
But our kind of calls have kind of been going up over the last
2.5 years.
more than that.
Probably the 2 years. If you make it back in 2 years.
I have a graphic to show you guys.
Well, you get into two issues there. Is the ambulance doing more calls? We've been getting 10 years out of them. Are you going to continue to get 10 years out of an ambulance?
That's another thing altogether.
Or is it going to be
Well,
8 years or
yeah.
9 years, you know? And then as if you keep them for 10 years and they've got more miles on them and they're more likely to be down, then you need that third ambulance more often. I don't know.
Oh, we're gonna have to start replacing them every 8 years.
Well, that's right.
It's,
I mean,
I think,
as soon as you say the rescue truck went on 6 calls and it only made it to 1,
yeah.
I assume it got turned back before it got to the other. Right. So it's like, how much money are you spending to have that piece of equipment there if you're only going to...
Oh, I agree.
How many times does the tanker go out? Is the tanker 6 runs too, or is the tanker...
I don't have that
50?
off the top of my head.
I would assume the tanker probably goes out more than 6 times
Oh,
a year.
well more than that,
Right.
yeah.
So for me, I guess that, if we're saying that the maintenance costs on the rescue, maintenance inspection on the rescue versus that 10-year-old ambulance is going to be comparable, well, that almost sounds like...
Well, yeah, that's a no-brainer.
It's really a no-brainer.
Well,
Except the stuff in it.
that costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money that
You have to replace.
you have to replace. Is it 10 years you replace the stuff, or is it you get 20 years out of it?
So I expect the cots, they're 13 years old now, given the current use and the maintenance program that we have them on, probably to last another 4 or 5 years. There's no reason why they shouldn't. They're really in good shape.
You're talking 30 to 60,000. Well, 60,000 replaced over.
So you're,
But I've really done the numbers on this. It doesn't make it's a no-brainer to have the third ambulance rather than the rescue truck.
On a slightly different topic, how do you rotate the engine in the ambulance?
So the oldest ambulance, beginning of the month, which is right now, it gets used for a week, and then we put it for second due over at Park Street. And the newer ambulance we use for the second, third, and fourth week of the month.
Okay.
Primary due, and then when it's over there, it's secondary due.
Right.
The oldest ambulance right now has 95 or 96,000 miles on it.
So how about the 2 new engines? Do they rotate those?
They do this, we do the same thing with those. So the older one, which is only a year older, right now is being used as the frontline truck, and the newer one is actually a dingy right now, getting warranty repairs. We just brought it there this morning. But if you look at the graphics, can you see that, Paul?
Yep.
All incidents, EMS incidents over the, you can see it just slowly keeps creeping up. This is EMS incidents trend over 10 years. We had this one down here, I don't know what happened there, but you can see the trend line is just continues to grow. Apparatus and equipment fund balance continues to grow.
As it should, as the
Yep.
trucks get more expensive.
The population of both towns continues to grow.
We're almost up to 9,000 people.
Yes. Just the total district population is 8,999. But you can see the trend. That's the trend
In
line.
20 years.
Yeah. The median age. This is why the ambulances are busier, because the older you get, the more likely you are going to need our assistance. Trend line on incidents.
Well, and that's what, 20 years?
Yep. From 2000 to 2022.
Well, I think that presentation at the district meeting will be very well prepared, because, I mean, obviously, getting the new ambulance is part of the equipment replacement. But keeping the old one and
That's gonna
then
be
spending
problem.
the $150,000 to
That's going to
outfit
be,
it.
yeah.
so it's not gonna,
I'm a
The
firm.
maintenance of it isn't gonna be coming off on tax dollars, it's gonna, out of the apparatus and equipment.
Well,
And the-
and this equipment isn't either,
No,
probably.
the equipment is not either.
But you're gonna have to have that whole justification for
Yeah.
why you're gonna want to have 3 ambulances, and then being able to staff them, and,
Well, we're only staffing 2. The third would be
But-
staffed
but
only
you-
if we were available. That's when you go back to the apparatus and equipment fund. I don't, let me put my glasses on.
is that rescue truck,
It's upside down still.
So upside down, yeah.
does that rescue truck have value? How old is it? I mean, is that something another fire department would buy, or is that gonna be scrap like the typical
Like the
trade?
ambulances
I
when we
mean,
trade.
we bought it brand new, God, it can't.
It came, it was from a show or something. It had some mileage on it when they bought it.
But it don't have a lot of miles, what's it got, maybe 20, 30,000?
It's about 45,000.
Does it have that much?
That's nothing, it's a diesel engine.
Yeah, it's an
So
international,
that's just, I mean, that's,
How old is it?
2001,
God, it's gonna be
5, somewhere in that area.
somewhere around there, I
it's
don't
about 20 years.
remember when we got it.
But it's, I mean, it's,
It still has, well, it's old enough that it has all the old halogen lights on it, none of the LED stuff.
yeah, but
I think when you turn those lights on, it actually gets darker.
oh, yeah, cause the alternator is.
Yeah, they go,
Alright,
It's the ones that you can use.
I guess my feeling is, I have no problem going after the new ambulance. However, the question is keeping the old one, keeping the third one. That would be my question, but near here, this is, I mean, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and order it now.
well, you're right, we
we already authorized
right,
it.
we need to approve that,
By the
405,000.
time we get it, things could change in 2 years. And we might, you know, I don't know.
But when the time comes, yeah.
What page is that, 14?
Do we need to approve those warrant articles now, or is that a separate meeting?
No, I just thought it was an easy thing to do.
Not that-
So I can tell Kathy we accomplished something.
we accomplished one thing.
Yeah,
And the pickup, a 3/4 ton with the plow,
yes.
I think that's the easy no-brainer
yeah,
right there.
that's, yeah, we need one, the other one is about at it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the new 3/4 ton pickup with plow and equipment for $79,950, and not to exceed $79,950.
I'll second that.
It's been moved in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
See, Kathy, we got 2 things for
Well, I would move the new ambulance for $405,500. Obviously, that's part of the capital equipment replacement program.
Well, are you doing
No, I did
$559,000?
$405,500.
That's for the truck.
That's for the new ambulance.
That's just for the shell. Did you just make a motion on that?
I did.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second, new ambulance for $405,500. It's moved in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, no, warrant article, they'd be together.
Would they?
Yeah. Right, because you're not gonna put a warrant article on there just to.
I guess we could, but
Well,
you guys decide how it goes.
Well,
I don't.
whether, if the district decides not to have a third ambulance, we still need to buy this one for 405.
Yes.
True, that the district doesn't decide, we decide.
Well, we're gonna present it to the district and they're gonna vote on
Do they vote on it?
Yeah,
That's
it'll
not-
be a
Yeah,
warrant, it'll
it'll
be a warrant article.
Yeah,
it. So do you put a warrant article out that's got both and then you have a backup warrant article for just the ambulance, or do you put them out as 2 separate warrant articles?
It's entirely up to you. Well, you wouldn't do a backup. It's either you put them on as one, or you put them up, or you two warrant articles.
Yeah, but you wouldn't wanna have the voters vote down your warrant article and now you don't have the ability to buy the ambulance that you need. I suppose somebody could reduce the amount by
They could rewrite the, they could rewrite, can they rewrite the warrant?
Yeah, they can amend the warrant article to a lesser amount. And they actually can increase it up to a certain
I
percentage.
think we should ask somebody for guidance on how that should be done. Is that something we
Well,
can get?
DRA, would they,
DRA
So-
or the folks there in Concord?
Yeah, so what exactly do you want me to ask them?
Whether this should be one warrant article with the two amounts totaled, or whether they should be two different warrant articles.
It can be either, is the answer.
I don't think equipping it should be a separate warrant. I think you just have a not to exceed price.
well, the only thing is, if somebody's gonna ask, what are you gonna do with the third one?
Yeah, well, no.
And if that gets voted down, that means you really don't need this equipment then.
Right.
True,
Yeah.
but I believe
I
my PowerPoint presentation on why we should have a third ambulance is going to make it crystal clear that having a third ambulance is going to save us money. It'll increase our revenues by about $50,000 a year, the ambulance revenues, because we're not giving them away.
Well, then I guess it should be one warrant article.
Should be in the, I agree, one more an article with the agreement, it's gonna come fully equipped with all the stuff you need to do it.
Right. And then if needed, the district can decide.
I guess I'd like to know how much that rescue truck is worth.
We won't know that until because we're
Put it
going to
out
hold
there for
on to
bid
it
or
until
Yeah,
2.5
from now.
years until we trade it in.
Mhm.
Can't trade it in now, but I know for the last ambulance that we traded in, I think they gave us like $7,000 or $8,000 for it.
Yeah, you're not gonna get.
But they were doing that for, right. It's,
They,
there's
they
gotta
were,
be,
it was,
there's gotta be a market out there for used fire trucks, because I know.
There is.
Towns buy used ladder
Yes.
trucks.
And contractors have bought some of those.
yes, there's a bunch of them running around
Christian
here right
Auto
now.
Repair, is it Christian Auto?
Christian Construction or something.
Gas repair, so he's
Gas,
got an old lady.
plumber, yeah. No, there's a bunch of them running around. They
I
bought
see him up
old
north, I
ambulances.
get confused.
I mean, that rescue truck down there, that, you know, let's face it, it's in great shape.
Oh no, is that a $20,000 piece of
Yeah.
equipment, or is it
Yeah.
a $5,000 piece of equipment?
I think it's probably worth about 15, maybe. It's got a 20 kilowatt generator in it, or 25 kilowatt generator in it. So a contract, this is a perfect contractor's truck, or a road repair truck maybe, where they need electricity, a lot of
But on
electricity.
the miles wise, it's nothing. And
I
if
don't know,
it-
is
if
there
the
any way
body's in
to
good shape,
get a sense for, I don't know, okay.
I can ask,
Somebody who deals with used fire equipment.
yeah. But again, the final thing wouldn't happen for about
Right.
2.5 years from now.
Right, who knows what's gonna be what 2.5 years from
Maybe everything will be electric.
now. All right, so should I move the $154,020 to be added to that warrant article to go with the new ambulance?
That would be my recommendation.
Right, so move.
second,
You have a motion, a second.
Somebody second it?
I did.
Okay, motion has been made with equipment, with the new ambulance, that new ambulance for $154,020. Been moved second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Four things, Kathy.
8 o'clock.
That's yours.
Stealing my stuff. I'm not gonna walk away.
So, we're gonna pour over this budget to make sure the math is right tonight. I am anyways.
Check your formulas, man. It's just, it's like a formula's wrong or something.
Well, I understand what Tim is saying, and on the surface, it seems right.
So, to me, something's missing in that.
Excel. I love Excel, but sometimes It's not exactly what you think it is. And then, tomorrow, we'll have the answer. Was that you, Paul?
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Supper's ready.
Tomorrow, we'll have the answer to whether the math is correct in the
Okay,
spreadsheet.
thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
then we can have that discussion tomorrow about what you want to do going forward.
It's a heck of a agenda, maybe.
Time is 8 o'clock, I make a motion, we adjourned.
Stop it.
And move second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Not the big board. Vote with your feet.
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Jesus.
It'll take a few minutes to type that out.
John's.
Yeah, she doesn't have to do transcripts, she only has to do minutes.
Right, right. I think she's getting the hang of it.
I was sitting there looking at minutes of some meeting, and I'm not sure